Welcome to Write Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 190, Finding Encouragement in Tough Times, an encouraging words episode with Markus Watson, coming to you on Sunday, April 5th, 2020. So I'm doing something a little bit different today. It's something that I've been thinking about and talking about doing for a long time, which is to have a guest on the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're like, hey, there's someone else there. But if you're just listening, you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. I can go with this. So let me tell you who today's guest is. Today's guest is Markus Watson. Markus is a Presbyterian pastor living in San Diego with his beautiful wife, Robin, and their three kids, Micah, Macy, and Drew. He currently serves as an interim pastor at a small but mighty congregation in the rural town of Westmoreland, about 2 hours east of San Diego. He also hosts the Spiritual Life and Leadership podcast and is the author of Beyond Thingification, Helping Your Church Engage in God's Mission. He's been serving in churches for over 20 years, but believe it or not, church ministry was never on his radar when he was young. Welcome, Markus.
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
So it's bedtime in Sweden and it's just post-breakfast in California.
I know. I still got my coffee with, I would like to show you for those on, The Force Awakens. And then if you look in there, it says, coffee does too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Caffeine does too is what it says. Sorry.
Caffeine does too.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I was going to join you with an evening drink, but I was just like, okay, if I have a glass of wine, I will not be able to focus on what we're doing this late at night.
Yeah. I hear you.
So I talked to you about this probably at least a year ago, and then, busy schedules and things going on, and probably I just forgot about it part of the time, and then just never went back and asked you the times that I did think about it. But you are one of the people that I've been thinking about for a long time would really add some interesting depth and perspectives to my encouraging words episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, as much as on the one hand, I'm a little tired of getting emails from companies that says, this is what we're doing about the COVID-19 crisis. On the other hand, you sent out an email the other day that was really, I think, to your list of people interested in your book, which I'm on that list because I was helping you publish your book.
Yeah, I know.
And then I was like, these are interesting emails. I'll just stay on it. So,
good.
Yeah. And so one of the things that you said that kind of sparked some ideas in me was that during this time when so many people in the world are being forced into pretty much isolation. If you have family members, that's about some of the only people that you'll be interacting with on any kind of regular basis. But you were saying this might be a time when the church, because it has to find a way to connect during this very weird period, then it might actually find a way to connect better. Yeah.
That's quite possible. we're trying, and we're trying to figure out what this is how that's going to work, and during this time, and then it'll be interesting to see what continues on once we kind of get back to whatever normal will be after this. Yeah. And it made me think about just all of our regular relationships. Just before we hit the record button, I was telling you that I find it really interesting that a month ago, there was tons of people on the internet, it's funny, on social media saying social media relationships aren't real. You should have real relationships in person with real people. Yeah. And now we can't. And we are being told you need to find a way to make technology work for you to have relationships. Right.
Weird.
That was you mentioned that just before we started recording, and I hadn't really thought about it quite like that, but that's a fascinating development. Where, all right, well, let's really put this to the test. Are online relationships real or not? And well, they better be, because we need real relationships in life. And I think probably what we're going to find is that, these are real. They're just different, and they make use of technology that didn't exist even 20 years ago, and that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that perspective will also play a huge factor because in my social media relationships, for the most part, my perspective is it wouldn't be the end of the world if this social media platform went away, or if I never really got to be more friends with the people that I am, quote, friends with on the
Mm-hmm.
various platforms, because the relationships that I have, quote, in real life, um, are the ones that I am going to continue to try to keep up, even if
Yeah.
I don't live in the same place anymore.
Yeah. Right.
But but now, like, I have to, in fact, I had a meeting at church with a bunch of people who like lead some of the connect groups, Bible studies and stuff at church. And they're like, okay, we really need to have every single person in church contacted by someone once a week
Mhm.
to just check
Yeah.
in. Because
Yeah.
normally we kind of do our check in on Sunday morning, like, hey, how's it
Right.
going? How's your
Right.
week?
Right.
But now the only way that we can do it is either, reaching out through a phone call or an audio
Yep.
message or a
Yep.
text or,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. So as a pastor, right, one of the things I have to do is stay in touch with people. And a lot of times that does happen on Sunday mornings. I say hi, I greet them, I whatever, check in with them. But now, and I've never been a big phone caller unless I absolutely have to, but now I have to. And
Yeah.
it's good. And so during the first week of our, shelter in place, we don't have a huge congregation, about 40 people in our church directory. And so I just cranked through that church directory and called everybody on the list. And now I just sort of call about 4 or 5 people a day and just kind of get through the list every week and a half or so. And part of me is like, I should probably keep doing this afterwards,
So
And
is it beginning
oh,
to feel normal yet, or does it still feel a little weird?
no, it's still weird. It's still weird. The days are not, they don't feel natural. And I think that's partly because we're not able to connect with people personally, but partly it's just this weird rhythm. One of the things I mentioned to you before too was, I don't feel as it's harder for me to get going in the morning, partly because we're up late and our sleep schedule is way off, and my kids' sleep schedule is way off. Yesterday, so this is kind of unrelated. Is it okay if I tell a quick little story? So
Absolutely.
my 15-year-old, they're all staying up late, and he got to where he was sleeping till 1 in the afternoon, and then yesterday morning he woke me up at like 6 in the morning, and he's like, Dad, I can't find Macy. Macy's my 12-year-old daughter. And he's like, she's not in her bed. And so I didn't get up. I think he went and checked again, and he's like, oh wait, never mind, she's in her top bunk. So first of all, she's like decided to move. She's got a bunk bed and she decided to sleep up there because the cats were up there. And then later on I find out, when I wake up, he never went back to sleep, and he'd only slept like an hour or two prior to that.
Oh.
And he ended up going for a walk into town, about a mile or so, and then a mile back. And I'm like, you went for a walk? You never go for walks at 6 in the morning? Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
what else was I going to do? So anyway, I think he got a little bit better sleep last night. And I just woke him up before this. He's like, Dad, spray me with a spray bottle or something if I don't get up. I got to get up earlier. I'm like, yeah, you do. But so everything is off. It's weird. And then I find myself doing the work that I have to do starting later in the day. It's kind of nice to wake up and there's no time pressure, and I've got my cup of coffee and stuff, and I can sort of chill in the morning, and then I get some things done. But then I also find that I'm doing things until midnight. Like I'll work for half an hour, and then I'll take a break, and then I'll do another half hour of stuff I got to do, and then another hour, and then a break. And anyway, and it's just this very weird mixed up thing. And I think part of the reason yeah, is that there's no boundary, right? There's no time boundary, like, oh, now work is done and now I can rest. I told you I overheard my wife's staff meeting that they did via Zoom, and one of the other staff members said that she had worked from home for years in another job and was having and never had a problem focusing, but now is having a really hard time focusing. And I think my guess is that has to do something with the fact that at 5 o'clock we can't say, all right, once I get everything done, then we can go out for the evening and, go to a movie or go to dinner or whatever. We can't. We're just here at home. Maybe we can rent a movie,
Yeah.
which we've been doing. But yeah, it's just a weird, abnormal time.
Yeah. And I remember when you and I were doing a lot of Zoom phone calls back and forth when we were prepping your book for publication, there were a lot of phone calls that were like, I can meet at this time, but I have to go to the school and pick up my daughter at this time. So we have to be done. So there was a structure to your day.
Yes, right. And it feels totally unstructured now, except for whatever structure I put to it. And what's really weird now is when I have to, after just a couple of weeks, when I have to put something structured in, it feels a little bit like, it's like I want to hold on to the lack of structure a little bit because that's kind of nice. It's so different from normal life. But I also know that I really need the structure, and I got to work on that. Like I just got to work on getting more structure. I've told what will be nice is when the kids, they have to start online school. So they're not going back to school for the rest of the school year, but they're going to start doing online lessons of some kind starting next week, I think.
Interesting.
And I don't know if it'll be like they have to get on at a certain time. I kind of hope it is, because that structure would be good. Or it might just be whenever you do it, here's what you have to do, watch this lesson or respond to these, whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. But that'll be good for them to have to do something, and that'll be good for me.
Yeah. Because if they have a structure, then you can go back to creating a structure.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I did want to say today as one of my encouraging little bits of advice is that probably there's a lot of people who are feeling like, oh, I have all this freedom, but now it's beginning to feel weird, and maybe I'm not even getting as much done as I used to do. And so I just now, while you were talking, had just like a funny parallel from a previous interview, which will have been about 2 weeks, I think, by the time this one goes live, where Natalie Walters was saying, one thing that we writers who work at home can tell you who aren't used to being at home, sweatpants are your friend until they aren't. So you need to try on your jeans at least once a week and make sure they still fit. And I think that the structure kind of works in the same way. Like right now, it feels comfortable, like sweatpants, to not be able to do anything until we want to.
Yeah. I was thinking, I put on a collared shirt for this, which I haven't done for a few days. But I was like, I could leave my pajama pants on. No one would know. But I'm like, no, I better put my jeans on. And I do have slippers instead of shoes. But no, I think that's very true. And I heard a friend tell me that even like if you're between jobs, get dressed like you're going to work every day, and then do your job hunting in your work clothes, so that you don't lose that momentum and you feel like you're getting done what you need to get done. It does help. It is motivating, right? To dress like you're getting stuff done. Yeah.
I've actually been surprised. I thought that my husband, John, would just kind of be real relaxed and lazy like he is on the weekends. Lazy in clothing, lazy in clothing. But I noticed that he gets up and takes a shower and puts on the same clothes that he would if he went to work. Now, for an animator, that means jeans and a t-shirt. Sure. But he's very particular about making sure that, like, this day it's a Star Wars t-shirt, and this day it's a Warner Brothers t-shirt. And
interesting.
So he still is very choosy about making sure on the days that he plays D&D, which now he has to do online with all of his friends. He's actually getting ready for a game that will be tomorrow night. They're all going to use this online platform to play their D&D game. And so, of course, I know that tomorrow, even though like nobody could see it, he's going to wear one of his D&D shirts because it's a D&D day.
Right. So Mondays are Star Wars and Tuesdays are D&D, or is that how he does it? Or
it's not specific. It's but he's very careful about
intentional. Okay.
Yeah, he's very intentional. That's what I mean. Okay. Yeah. Like I'm not sure that he would wear a Star Wars t-shirt 2 days in a row.
Right. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But then
Interesting.
like on like every third or fourth Friday, he has to wear his t-shirt that says Casual Friday, and it's a stormtrooper with a mug of coffee with his feet up on the desk.
That's awesome. Every what Friday did you say? Every
Like at
uh,
least once a month, he wants to
Oh,
wear his
okay. That's
Stormtroopers
awesome.
Casual Friday shirt. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome.
But he doesn't like that he's had to make his office that used to be 100% for fun into a
Mm,
place where he can actually work.
mm.
He's like, I don't like
Yeah.
this. I'm like, but it looks
Yeah.
really nice and clean.
That's funny. That's cool.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good to hear that. I guess he's been getting stuff done. That's good.
Yeah, it
That's
does
good.
help that they have, like your wife, she has a meeting, so she needs
Yeah.
to not only show up, but prove that she's actually been working by being able to participate in the
Yeah.
conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. For
But
sure.
your job is a little bit more like mine. Pretty much the entire job and the responsibility and the what is the word, accountability is all
Hmm.
you. You are the boss of
Well, that's
you,
true.
right?
Yeah, that's true. Well, yes and no. So as a pastor, especially Presbyterian, we have a board of elders, and so I am accountable to them. And of course, if I, what I'm doing is I'm recording my sermons from right here where we're recording right now, and I post them on YouTube, and then people can watch them. On Sunday mornings, we make them available on Sunday mornings. And if I didn't, of course, then, well, that would
Yeah.
not be good. I would hear about it, right? And then we actually do a Bible study on Mondays, which we used to be in person, and now we don't do Zoom. We do a conference call. Someone recommended that, and so we use a conference call thing, and that's actually been working pretty well. And that's one of the nice structure things, right? That I'm like, all right, Mondays at 11:30. Gotta be ready for that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so there. Yes, I do have a little bit more freedom, and I'm able to work from home, and get everything done that I more or less need to get done. Um, but anyway, yeah. But I am still accountable. There is still some accountability there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we were talking about, because I like to have as much encouragement in the encouraging words episode, but also like tips to help people to think, what could I do? One of the interesting things that you were talking about is that people, human beings, were not meant to be confined or isolated.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about that as I was thinking about what we were going to talk about. But right, we were made to be in relationship with each other. And so, for instance, when someone is a hermit, I just saw an article this morning about someone who lives in like a ghost town in Colorado and giving tips on how to be socially isolated. But like and that's great, right? That works for a few people. But
Yeah.
for most human beings, right, we need some kind of connection with each other. And so this season that we're in challenges that. And and so I think that's part of the weirdness of it is it doesn't feel natural to not be seeing each other. You know what really interesting though, like we long for some kind of connection. I do go for a walk about every other day at least. And as I'm walking around town, there's good social distancing while we're walking. One person steps off the sidewalk,
Yeah.
and to keep that 6 feet. But for one thing, there are a lot of people going for walks. And the weather's great in San Diego right now. It's getting better. It's been kind of cold for us. That means like 62 degrees.
We
But
haven't seen 62 degrees in probably 5 months. So,
oh, you haven't gotten there yet, even.
no.
Wow. I'm sorry.
It got up to 52 or 53, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can take off my jacket.
Oh, funny. See, and I'm be like, I need to keep bundling up. It's so freezing cold. Anyway, but as we walk past each other, it's like everyone kind of smiles and nods or says hello because it's like we're all in this together. So there is kind of a unifying thing with what's going on because we're all in the same boat. It's like a leveling thing. Like everyone's on the same level. Nobody's immune to it. I mean, certainly some are maybe more prone to get sicker and even die, I suppose. But everyone is just as at risk of getting it, right? And so anyway, so we're all in the same boat. So that's kind of a nice thing in a way. But we certainly weren't made to be isolated. And what was the other thing?
Isolated and confined as well.
And confined, right? And so it's important. That's why I need to get out for a walk. I mean, ideally every day, but at least every other day, because like when you're trapped inside, there's something wrong about that. Our church does well. One guy in particular in our church is very involved in a prison ministry, and so then once a year, a group of us go and there's sort of an event where we listen to some of the prisoners, the inmates give their testimonies, those who've come to faith. But like it just, this experience gives me a little bit of a taste of why that hurts, right? Why it hurts to be confined. It's not what we were meant for. We were meant to be free and able to move about, or even someone who's confined because of health issues, right? That's not how it's meant to be. So it kind of maybe to some extent this gives us a little bit of an understanding of what someone who is suffering in that way, some kind of confinement, gives us a little taste of that. Maybe gives us a little bit of compassion for someone who suffers that way. Yeah.
Empathy is always a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, who do I know who knows someone? Because somebody could be like writing some great blog post articles, lessons from prison.
Oh, yeah.
How to live in confinement.
Yeah.
But I do know that one of the things that I heard about that, I mean, I'm talking total third-hand information, but I'm pretty sure that I've heard that the reason why there is such structure in prison is to help with the dealing of the confinement.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. And they have to, well, and I don't know how it all works, but they get time out in the yard or whatever it is, and and I heard that sometimes they will, and I don't blame them for this, they'll fake symptoms just so that they have to get taken to the hospital, and get outside of there a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then of course solitary confinement, like we understand how painful that must be, right? To be completely confined for however long, Yeah. So anyway, but again, this gives us a little bit of a taste of what that must be like.
Yeah. And that segues into another thing I wanted to bring up. Sweden, I don't know if this is true, but it was something I heard when I moved here 2 years ago, that it has one of the highest populations of people who live alone. So there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of apartments that are available for rent that are 1-bedroom apartments for one person. And that we have a ton of people who, like in the US, we're used to roommates. I mean, whether we want them or not, we're used to them, like, oh, that's the way that we'll do it,
Right.
But apparently, as I understand it, here we have a huge percentage of people who live alone. And one of the things that I wanted to touch on today was for people who live alone, and most especially for people who already know that they struggle with anxiety, depression, and particularly if anybody feels like they're like on the suicidal end of depression, this is not the time to sit there quietly and just take it. It's definitely the time to reach out. It's always a good time to reach out and try to get in relationship with someone. But I think that one of the hardest things, because I've been to some degree in that position. I stood on a bridge once and thought about jumping off of it.
Oh, wow.
Thankfully, the river smelled so horrendously bad. That was God's way of helping me, because I was like, I'm willing to die, but I'm not willing to suffer for the 30 seconds it'll take of having to like swallow that brackish water. And I was like, I can't do it. So it was really, really good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Wow.
But it occurs to me that the times in my life when I have really wanted some sort of relationship, for a moment or over time, and just couldn't get myself to reach out for it, the best thing to do is look around and see if you can find somebody who, even if you think of it this way, is worse off than you, or find somebody else who's also, like
Yeah.
you're at a convention or something, somebody else who's also standing off to the side, not talking to anyone, looking like they don't know what to do.
Right.
I think it would be really, really helpful. And probably there's somebody in your circle, either at work or school or, your social circle, somebody else that lives alone or is really quiet or shy. And maybe you'll feel better by reaching out to somebody else who maybe needs it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. One of the thoughts I had was, maybe what folks can do is just make a list of people to connect with. I kind of, in some ways, have my list because of our church directory. In a way, that's my list, and it's good. But maybe you just make a short list of 5 or 10 people or so, people that you maybe have been thinking about connecting with, but haven't for whatever reason. You just never got around to it, or just people that are important to you. So for me, I'm I don't know if you're familiar with Enneagrams. I'm an Enneagram 9, which is a peacemaker and not an achiever. That's a number 3, right? So it's just a personality indicator thing. And so for me, like, I'm not what people might call prone to action. I need bite-sized chunks. Like, if I look at a big project, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to call the whole church directory. That's going to take me hours,
Yeah.
So I did it the first time through, but now I'm just like bite-sized chunks, 1 page a day, which is about 5 to 6, the way I have it printed out, about 5 to 6 people a day. I think if we can, for those who are more like me, just do bite-sized chunks, just call one person a day, or even, one person every other day, or send an email or whatever, just a little bite size of connection. Unless you're the kind of person who's like, man, I can't wait to connect with everybody. Well, then do it. All right.
Right.
If you want to call everybody in a day, and that's how you're wired, then totally do that. But maybe make a little list. Sometimes making a list, one of the things I've learned, can be really helpful, right? In terms of being intentional and thinking through what matters, or who matters in this case. Everybody matters, but in your
but who matters to you?
Relation. Right. Yeah. So maybe that's something we can do. And you know what? Telephones are old-fashioned, but phone calls, right? They work.
It's true.
You can FaceTime and Zoom like this, or whatever, but you can also just make a simple phone call and say, how you doing? And people appreciate that. Yeah.
When we had our church meeting, trying to figure out, okay, what are all the ways, we were like trying to brainstorm, what are all the ways that we could possibly stay in touch with people? And it's funny, the bits and pieces on your phone or your computer that maybe that they're there, but you've never used them because you've never had any reason to, or you just didn't even know it was there. Like, I've been a Mac computer owner for decades, but it wasn't until about 4 years ago that I realized that your Mac computer has the same do not disturb function as your iPhone does.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that cool? Yeah. So long as we're talking about it. So on your big, screen menu in the top right corner, there's the 3 lines that show you that there's an additional menu. And when you click on that, for some reason it hides it at first, but if you scroll up, then you'll see.
Oh,
right?
Look at that.
So you can turn on night what's it called?
Night shift.
Night shift. If you are working on your computer at midnight and you're thinking, I really should be going to bed in an hour or two, it'll change the colors so that you're not getting the wakefulness kind of colors.
Yeah, look at that. That's cool.
Do not disturb, right? And so one of the things that I was mentioning to people is sometimes like I just get tired of texting because it's two fingers. And if I use WhatsApp, like there isn't a computer version of it. So there's no way for me to, use a keyboard. So I need to use just my thumbs, which makes me crazy.
Right. On the phone. Yeah.
Yeah, on
Yeah,
WhatsApp.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But WhatsApp and regular texting and I think Facebook, though I'm not sure where it is, but I'm almost positive I saw it there. Most of these programs have a button that looks like a microphone. And if you press and hold it, you can just leave a voice message because you want to connect by voice, but you don't really want to talk on the phone.
Yeah, right.
And it seems more personal than a text.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was telling people, well, you can do that. Or you can leave a video message if you're also fine to put yourself on video. I've gotten a couple of those messages from people that I suspect were just like, I don't really want to get on a phone call, but I want to have a more personal connection than a text that says, hey, how are you?
Yeah. That's good. I like that. That's good. Have you done that with anyone yet?
So I've gotten a couple similar to you. I'm like, I recently, just because of this and some of the things that are happening in people's lives, John and I have temporarily become Connect Group leaders, which makes us kind of slightly, I don't know, like we've done it before, but for some reason right now, it just makes us feel slightly freaked out. Like there's so much pressure to connect with every single person in your group, at least once a week. And so yeah, it's been a week and a half and we haven't actually reached out to anyone yet.
Get on that. Come on.
I know, right? And it's funny because I look like I'm an extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert. So I quite like being stuck at home and doing my own thing and having my own schedule.
Yeah, no, I'm an introvert too, which is why making these phone calls is not out of my comfort zone, but it's, I just have to be more intentional about making it happen. Yeah.
But another thing is, so I don't know if you're used to, you and I have had coffee together, and I don't know if that's a normal part of your day or not.
Drinking coffee?
No, to go meet someone for coffee.
Oh, occasionally. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So John actually scheduled, again, he specifically reached out to people that he knows live alone, but people in his work group who he would normally be seeing, and he does talk to them they have a team chat through their work, and everybody's connected through the same work computers and stuff that they had before. But it's nonetheless, it's still just text, it's typing. So he reached out to a couple of people and said, hey, you know how we used to have fika once a week, which is basically afternoon coffee break with cookies.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Swedish word?
Yeah. Swedish word fika. It's the best word. It's the only word you really need to know.
Huh.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what you're saying, just fika.
Fika.
That'll help.
Yeah, and then people will smile and laugh and go, "Oh, that's the only word in Swedish you know, isn't it?"
Okay, funny.
It is funny, actually.
Funny.
So he got a couple of people to say, yes, let's still meet and have fika on our fika day. I think they actually changed the day to work better for people. And so everybody who agreed is going to stop work, get their cup of tea or coffee, get their cookies, and they're going to get on Zoom or Skype, and they're all just going to sit there and talk for a half an hour the way they normally would once a week at work.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's awesome.
I thought that's another thing that we can all be doing.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. That could be great for work as well. What that brings to mind for me. Last Thursday, we were supposed to record this, and then I didn't realize until that morning that I was double booked with you and with a Zoom call with all of the pastors in our presbytery. So all the Presbyterian pastors in San Diego. And so we ended up rescheduling you and me, and I did that call, and it was it was actually really good to have that conversation with all these other pastors. Again, because we're all in the same boat and we're all kind of sharing ideas with each other, just professionally, here's what we're doing, but then also it was mostly professional, but also a little bit of personal connection, anyway, that it was so it was the kind of connection that we don't normally have. And now it's a standing
Oh,
Thursday at 11 o'clock call for all the pastors in the presbytery, which we haven't ever had that before. I mean, we would see each other at presbytery meetings or see a few of us at various committee meetings,
yeah.
but those presbytery meetings only take place 4 times a year, right? And so, but now there's this standing Zoom call with all the other pastors, and it's not required. I mean, you don't have to be there,
Right.
but I assume many of us will.
Yeah.
Anyway, so again, like right here, are online relationships real? Well, yeah, it feels real to me.
Yeah. And like you said, you would normally see those people in person 4 times a year, but
Mhm.
it's possible, and it seems to me likely, that if you see a lot of them once a week and have a cup of coffee and talk about whatever, and probably also talk a little bit about, you were telling me, was it you who told me your wife broke her leg? No,
No.
somebody else. I have two people in my life whose wife has broken her leg in the last
Oh,
like 2
gosh.
weeks. Yeah, I'm
Wow.
thinking that
Wow.
sounds terrible. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can like have real person-to-person conversations that may start out about work, but then can, end up just being talk over coffee.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
And
Yeah.
it may well turn out to be a bonus addition that you keep in your life after we return to whatever becomes our next new normal.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Which it could actually be a great time saver
Yeah,
because you're not commuting, you're not driving anywhere. Although it's
that's
still nice
true.
to get out. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be that after all this, we may, I don't know, will we run from the technology because we're like, we just got to get back together. Come on, everybody, let's have coffee in person. We haven't been able to do this for 3 months or whatever it will be.
Yeah.
Anyway, how pendulums swing, right? That we may swing that way and then kind of come back to it. But it was really nice to have these Zoom conversations as opposed to whatever, having to drive half an hour to get to this meeting.
Right.
And then kind of settle into some sort of balance between the in-person and the technology, and that could be
Yeah.
very good. Yeah.
It could be good for relationships. And also,
Mhm.
I've heard, I'm sure probably a lot of people have, like the amount of air and water pollution decreases in some of the hard hit
Oh,
cities.
yeah, I believe
Like,
that.
yeah,
I heard, right, and I'm sure everyone's heard this. China's some cities are like seeing blue sky for the first time in ages, and
yeah,
that's wonderful. That's
yeah.
great. Yeah,
So maybe we can find a way to make everything work together somehow.
yeah, that's great. That's a good idea.
Ah,
Uh,
but I think that not to keep the episode going too long, and I also want
mhm.
to stop talking long enough so that if you have some, other things that you wanted to mention as tips or whatever. But since our audience, listening friends here are all writers like you and I
Uh-huh.
are, I
Yeah.
think one of the things I really wanted to say was, don't let this force you into an isolation that you begin to recognize may not be entirely healthy. And if
Mm.
you don't feel comfortable reaching out to, um, I don't know, it seems to me that you would probably feel comfortable reaching out to your friends and be like, hey, how's it
Mhm.
going? And whatever. But at the very least, think of somebody else who maybe like, not to say worse off, but
Yeah.
equally um, shy, quiet, reserved, somebody who lives alone, somebody that you can reach out to and say, hey, let's have coffee over Zoom, or
Yeah.
a brainstorming session. You could, there's some writers groups I know like started already using Zoom or other things, Skype, Google
Mm.
Hangouts, in the last couple of weeks because they were no longer allowed to meet at their coffee shop or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to really encourage people to think about ways that they can reach out and how much better you'll feel if you get off a call or something with another person that you realize that they look like they feel better, and it'll make you feel good.
Yeah. That's good. That's good advice. And that will require some intentionality, right?
Yeah.
So much of life, actually doing what's important requires being intentional about it and not letting things just happen, right?
Yeah.
Or waiting for them to do it, right?
Right.
Why hasn't so-and-so contacted me during this crazy coronavirus time?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if they haven't, then you call. You make that FaceTime call or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which kind of swings back to what we spoke about at the very beginning of structure. It may well
Hmm.
be that, like with you, you were like, I just need to make 5 phone calls a day. It may
Yeah.
be that you just are like, on Tuesday, every Tuesday, I'm going to have coffee with someone on
Hmm.
Skype
Yeah. That's a
and
great idea.
call around until one of your friends is like, I'm totally available on Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I love that. I love that.
Oh,
Yeah.
now you also had a lot of really interesting thoughts in the email exchange that you and I were talking to, as we prepared for today. And
Uh-huh.
I just wondered if there was anything else that, particularly as a pastor, but also as somebody who does do a lot of your work at home as well. You're
Uh-huh.
familiar with that. You're also a writer. And
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you could think of anything else that we haven't already talked about.
Yeah. Let me look at my notes. Let's see. I mean, I think we've talked about a lot of the things that I had thought about in advance. I, One of the things I jotted down was, I think part of the reason I think about like Swiss Family Robinson or Robinson Crusoe or Lost in Space, right? All of these Robinson stories, right? Which are the
Yeah.
castaway stories that where they get lost and are isolated. And I think again that kind of resonates or connects with something in us in terms of a fear of being disconnected. And so again, highlights the need for connection and for how
Yeah.
important it is to stay connected uh, during a time like this. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I have to say that you and I are both big movie buffs, and
Hmm.
I never put that together, that there was 3 stories that are some of the major stories in
Hmm.
like I don't know, kind of contemporary storytelling that
Uh-huh.
were all last name Robinson in a
Yeah, yeah.
similar situation. That's crazy.
It's I've heard it called the Robinson genre, right? Or something like that, and I don't know why that happened, why that emerged that way, but it's not, I don't think it's a mistake that in Lost in Space, the family are called the Robinsons, right? Because it's part of that, the Robinsons get lost or Robinson Crusoe gets lost, right?
Yeah.
And Castaway, I don't think, I didn't look at it, the character's name is, but I don't think
I
it's
went and
Robinson.
looked it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did?
Yeah.
It's not
It's like
Robinson. Yeah.
Dumont or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they should have called him Robinson. That would have been
Totally.
cool. Yeah, yeah. Maybe
Oh,
that would have been too obvious. I don't know.
maybe. But also, I mean, I'm always thinking about if it doesn't take very long for my mind to go, oh, how could I use that in a story? But seriously, no matter what genre you're writing in, there may be at least one character who has been, somebody got fired or somebody's been, what's it called when like a police officer or somebody gets told to stay home, suspended,
Oh yeah, yeah, right. Uh-huh.
or
Hmm.
somebody gets divorced, or
Hmm.
somebody's parent leaves, like a child's parent leave. So many situations that might
Yeah.
be in any genre of
Uh-huh.
storytelling. Now you can like think, oh, can I make that bit in my current work in progress
Yeah.
stronger
Yeah.
because of how I feel and how I'm experiencing life
Mm,
right now?
right. That's a great point, right? Life experience makes, I think, the telling of stories much more realistic or much more, yeah, realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I feel like I understand. What's interesting is the older I get and the more life that I live, the more I get certain stories. Like if I'm watching a movie, like I get choked up in ways. Sometimes it's stupid things, but I'm like, I get that more now than I did when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
In my 20s, that was just funny. Now it's like, oh, I see like even the underlying pain or whatever in the humor that makes it whatever, in the humor. We watched Bruce Almighty yesterday, and there's a lot of pain in him not getting the anchor job, and it's funny the way he lives it out, but that at the same time I felt choked up for him because I'm like, oh, I know what that feels like to be overlooked or whatever, and
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, life makes for good storytelling, I think.
Yeah. The Shrek movies, obviously made
Mm-hmm.
for children. So many animated films made in such a way that adults won't hate taking their children to them. But
Uh-huh.
honestly, there couldn't be a child in the audience who understood why I was crying at the end of Shrek 4. I thought
Oh,
it was one of the most moving, like romantic coming back together of a relationship
huh,
ever, because he had
huh.
dreamed that he could go back to his old life of being alone, and
Oh,
then you like had this experience where I can't remember if it was a dream or how it happened, but anyway, and then realized that more than anything, he missed his wife and his children, because
mm,
as much as on a day-to-day basis that people in our lives can be really irritating,
yeah.
which actually now I'm like realizing how that applies right now too. Um,
Totally.
the idea of them actually not being in our lives would
Yeah.
just be untenable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, those Shrek movies are good.
They're good.
I
They're
haven't
good.
seen the fourth one in a long time, but yeah, that's great. It's amazing how that happens, huh? We just
Yeah.
get it more. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marcus, thank you so
Yeah.
much for being on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, good, good.
Yeah.
Listen, in case people are interested more in you, your
Mhm.
podcast, and your book, where can we
Mhm.
find you online and anywhere else that you might be? But I guess we can't go anyplace else. So where can we find you online?
Yeah, so my website is just markuswatson.com, and that's Markus with a K, Markus, Watson.com. My podcast is called Spiritual Life and Leadership, and you can find that on the website as well, or you can just search it up wherever. And then my book is called Beyond Thingification, which is kind of a made-up word, but uh, the subtitle is Helping Your Church Engage in God's Mission, and just kind of is meant to help churches go from treating people like things, which we kind of do, I think. Sometimes people become numbers, people become objects in some ways, not intentionally and not maliciously, but it just sort of happens. And how do we remember that, oh, these are real people with real needs, and how do we actually do or reach out to them, or serve people in a way that is meaningful and matters. So you can find that. So there's links on my website again, or Amazon. You can find it there, Beyond Thingification. And yeah, that's good.
Excellent.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you very much. I really wanted to have an episode that had some concrete ideas for things to do during this time, and really for any time that you find your life in upheaval. It could be something as simple as I was sick for a month in November, the entire month of November,
Mm.
and couldn't go anywhere or do anything, and was feeling quite lonely. And now I feel like, well, if that happens again, I know some things I can do.
Yeah, right. Good.
So I hope that this has been helpful to everybody who's listening and watching. And I hope that you enjoyed Marcus and I talking about it in a relatively lighthearted manner, but also, with some real tips, and hopefully encouraging you all in your day as you take your 1 hour daily walk, and otherwise try to get some writing done, have some structure to your life, and have some really good social media relationships.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marcus.
Good. Hey, thank you. Appreciate being here. This was fun.